Okay, so what I got here is a Ultim Nature 5N tank, some rocks from around my house, and some UG from Dennerley. And I got a dog, 2 dogs. So I'm gonna be doing my dry start carpet method that I've done in the past with UG, but I'm going to videotape it this time for the most part, or at least give some description. So I've already done the aqua soil and the scaping, but down in here is an air stone buried into the substrate so that I can introduce water through regular misting or just filling it up slowly, and then it drips out into the bucket. And it drips so slowly, it drips with capillary action, so it just kind of keeps going on its own, but very slowly. So I'm going to clean up the UG, get all the gel off it. I'm going to cut it up, but what I do, oh, you can actually see water coming out now because I just put it down, and even though it looks dry, there's still water in there, and it just keeps kind of sucking it out until everything is just perfectly moist. So anyway, so I'm going to cut up the UG, then I'm going to fill up the tank with water up to the high point, the rocks back here. Take the UG, sprinkle it on top of the water, and then slowly drain the water out through this gravel siphon. And basically, when the UG is sitting and floating on top of the water, as it comes down, it'll just rest and I'll mist it off the rocks as it comes down, but it'll just spread a nice even layer all over everything. And then after it does that, I'll take a little more aqua soil, conscious soil from substrate source, put it in there, and just do a little bit on the top. Maybe not the first day, but after 2 days. And then just give a light dusting. Okay, so to the next steps. Oh, Hopo. Say hi. Good girl. There's Hefe. What are you doing, Hef? What are you doing? It's a good boy. Check out that plug I just pulled out of that cup. Freaking solid. Splitting up the UG. Might try and do some one-handed, see how it goes. Slowly filling up the tank too. These I've already diced up a bit and spread out. Here's smaller chunks I've cut from the bigger plug. Put that there. Take the blade. Cut. Sorry, horrible photographer. That's how that goes. Just keep repeating until this thing's full. Okay, so just about halfway done. Got half of it shredded up, floating in water, and the other half sitting in clumps, getting ready to get torn up with the tweezers and the X-Acto. And see how it's floating in here? It's just floating on the surface. So then I'll put it in there, let it float on the surface, and then slowly drain it out so that it all lays down flat. Starts like one of those from there, gets all spread out into there. Alright, so all of it's shredded lettuce now. Tank's about full. Did it really slow. Now I'm going to drain it down to the height of the substrate in the back, probably. Okay, getting ready. Got the water level right down to the top of the rocks. Added a second airstone siphon, so it'll go a little faster, and that one will be easily removed. About halfway through. Okay, it's almost done. Just waiting for the front now to drain. But the back is now covered somewhat evenly with UG. Once it continues to drain, it continues to just lay down on the substrate, and then I use the mister right there to squirt it down the edges and get everything nice and even and off the rocks. So keep going. Okay, so it's the next morning. I did this really late at night last night, and the water comes out really slowly, so I left it alone to drain overnight. I already pulled out the secondary airstone tube over there. You can see there's a bucket full of water it drained into, and all the plants are now resting right on the aqua soil all the way throughout. The primary is still dripping real slowly, so I got it covered a little bit, and I'm going to keep it this way for about 2 days probably, and then I'll sprinkle some of the fine contra soil on top of it, and that's going to be what help kind of roots and gets the UG going, and it'll grow up through that very thin layer of fine contra soil that I'm going to spread on top. It's not really going to be enough aqua soil to change the layout or anything, or the slope, but just enough to give a light cover to that UG. Here it is in its home for the next 2 months maybe, until the Pet Expo. Got some saran wrap, covering it up, keep it moist. A couple little holes here and there, put some air in. So we've got the drip siphon going. Got a ton of plants in there, some views, Anubias, all kinds of stuff in there cooking. But so there's a UG all spread out, even layer as much as possible. It's my little tanks.